At this very moment, somewhere in the ocean, 5,000 sailors are living inside a floating steel city the size of 3 football fields. They're eating 17,000 meals a day, sleeping stacked 3 people high in metal bunks, and sharing 4 showers with 100 other sailors. The USS Gerald R. Ford costs $13 billion, carries 75 fighter jets, and can obliterate targets 1,000 miles away. But here's what nobody talks about. How do you feed, clean, and house an entire city that never stops moving, never touches land for months, and operates under constant threat? The answers are more surprising than you think. These aren't luxury cruise ships. There are no private cabins, no gourmet restaurants, no personal space. When you're deployed on an aircraft carrier for 6 months straight, every single day revolves around 3 basic human needs: eating, sleeping, and staying clean. And on a vessel where one mistake can cost lives, even these simple tasks become military operations. From the moment these sailors wake up in coffin-sized bunks to the second they grab their last meal at midnight, life aboard is unlike anything you've experienced on land. The U.S. Navy has spent decades perfecting this system, and what they've created is nothing short of extraordinary. Feeding 5,000 sailors the massive operation. Let's start with the most important question. How do you feed 5,000 people 3 meals a day when you're floating in the middle of the ocean with no grocery stores for hundreds of miles? The answer lies in military precision and sheer scale. On a modern carrier like the USS Gerald R. Ford, the Culinary team serves up to 17,300 meals every single day. That's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and something special called midnight rations for sailors working the night shift. The ship operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which means the kitchens never stop. To make this happen, the Navy employs between 93 and 114 trained culinary specialists. These aren't your average cooks. They've been through intensive training at the Navy's Culinary School in Fort Lee, Virginia, where they learn everything from knife skills to managing industrial-sized equipment. Once deployed, they work 12 to 16-hour shifts in sweltering conditions, often in temperatures exceeding 135 degrees Fahrenheit. The numbers behind the food operation are staggering. Every single day, the crew consumes 1,600 pounds of chicken, 350 pounds of lettuce, 160 gallons of milk, 30 cases of cereal, and brews 20,000 cups of coffee. That's just one day. Over the course of a typical 6-month deployment, they'll process millions of pounds of food. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The ship's grocery bill on the USS Gerald R. Ford runs between $45,000 and $65,000 per day. That's over $1 million every single month, just to keep the crew fed. And unlike a restaurant on land, they can't just order more supplies when they run out. Every 7 to 10 days, massive supply ships pull alongside the carrier, match its speed, and transfer between 400,000 and 700,000 pounds of food via cable systems while both vessels are moving. It's a high-stakes operation that requires perfect coordination. The Navy doesn't just throw food at these sailors randomly. There are strict nutritional standards. Male sailors are allocated 2,850 calories per day, while female sailors receive 2,100 calories. The menus rotate every 14 to 21 days to prevent the crew from eating the same meals repeatedly. Culinary specialists must also account for food allergies, religious dietary restrictions, and personal preferences as much as possible. So what does mealtime actually look like? Picture a cafeteria line stretching across multiple decks. Breakfast runs from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Sailors grab trays and silverware, check the menu board, and move through the line cafeteria style. The offerings vary daily. Sometimes there are donuts or sweet rolls, but those disappear fast. First come, first served is the rule. The dining areas are separated by rank. Enlisted sailors eat in large mess halls that can feel like high school cafeterias. Officers have separate wardrooms with slightly better furnishings and more formal service. The most senior officers enjoy private dining areas with white tablecloths and higher quality meals. It's a hierarchy that extends even to something as basic as eating. But here's something special. Once a month, sailors who have birthdays get treated to a unique experience. They're seated at tables with white tablecloths, wine glasses filled with non-alcoholic beverages, soft music playing in the background, and gourmet meals like lobster or prime rib. For young sailors far from home, these small touches make a massive difference in morale. As one Navy chief put it, everything in life is surrounded by food. Of course, there are challenges. Emergency drills and battle stations can be called at any moment. If you're standing in line waiting for your meal and the alarm sounds, you drop everything and run to your station. Depending on your shift schedule, you might not get another chance to eat for 7 or 8 hours. Quick question for you. Have you ever gone a full day eating only what someone else prepared for you, with no choice in the menu? Drop your answer below. There's also the issue of waste. With this much food being prepared and served daily, waste is unavoidable. Every scrap, every uneaten meal, every piece of packaging has to be managed. The Navy has strict environmental protocols, but at the end of the day, most of it ends up being compacted and, yes, tossed overboard in designated ocean zones where it's legally permitted. Despite the challenges, the food quality has improved dramatically over the decades. Sailors from the 1970s and 80s will tell you horror stories about mystery meat and inedible dishes. Today's culinary teams take pride in their work, and many sailors report that the food is surprisingly good, especially compared to what troops in the field are eating, sleeping in steel coffins. Now let's talk about where these sailors sleep after a long day of work. Forget everything you know about comfortable beds. On an aircraft carrier, your sleeping quarters are called racks, and they're stacked 3 high in cramped compartments with dozens of other sailors. The modern Ford-class carriers have 40-person berthing areas, which is actually an improvement. Older Nimitz-class carriers cram up to 180 sailors into a single berthing compartment. Here are the dimensions of a standard Navy rack. 77 inches long by 27 inches wide. That's slightly smaller than a twin bed. The mattress is a thin 3-inch foam pad. And here's the kicker. From the top of your mattress to the bottom of the rack above you, there's only 20 inches of clearance. 20 inches. That's barely enough room to turn over. Sailors in the bottom and middle racks call them coffin lockers for a reason. You're essentially sleeping in a horizontal tube. Each sailor gets a small storage bin and a narrow upright locker measuring about 10 by 22 by 41 inches. That's it. Everything you own for 6 months has to fit in that tiny space. Most sailors learn quickly to pack light and keep only essentials. The berthing areas themselves are located deep inside the ship, far below the flight deck. Many sailors go weeks without seeing natural sunlight. They wake up in artificial light, work under artificial light, and go to sleep under artificial light. It's disorienting, and it takes serious mental toughness to adapt. Sleep itself is a challenge. Aircraft carriers operate around the clock, which means there's constant noise. Fighter jets are launching and landing on the flight deck above, sometimes just a few decks away from where you're trying to sleep. The ship's engines hum continuously. Doors clang. Boots stomp through passageways. One veteran described the noise of jets landing as inconceivably loud, and that's coming from someone who worked on the flight deck daily. To cope, sailors use earplugs and eye masks religiously. Some invest in custom curtains that hang around their racks to block out light and dampen sound. On the newer Ford-class carriers, these curtains are standard issue and provide a small sense of privacy in an otherwise communal environment. Shift work makes sleep even harder. Sailors work rotating schedules, which means your sleep cycle is constantly disrupted. You might work days one week and nights the next. Your body never fully adjusts. Add in the stress of deployment, being away from family, and the constant demands of military life, and sleep deprivation becomes a serious issue. The berthing areas do have a few amenities. There's usually a small common area with a television hooked up to satellite. Sailors can catch news, sports, or movies during downtime. The Ford-class carriers even have Wi-Fi-enabled lounges located across from the berthing areas, a significant upgrade from older ships. Officers, as you might expect, have it better. Junior officers share staterooms with 1 to 5 roommates depending on rank. Lieutenant commanders and above usually share with just one other person. Senior officers and the ship's commanding officers get private staterooms with desks, personal bathrooms, and significantly more space. It's still cramped by civilian standards, but it's luxury compared to enlisted berthing. Before we go further, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch without subscribing, and it costs you nothing but helps us bring more content like this. Thanks for the support. One thing the Navy has improved over the years is the design of these berthing areas. The newer Ford-class carriers replaced the massive 180-person berthing compartments with smaller 40-person units. This reduces noise, limits foot traffic, and gives sailors a slightly better quality of life. Each 40-person berthing area has its own attached bathroom and shower facilities. Which brings us to the next topic: showering and staying clean. Staying clean on an aircraft carrier is more complicated than you'd think. Let's start with the basics. Bathrooms. In the Navy, they're called heads, a term dating back to sailing ships when the bathroom was located at the front, or head, of the ship. A typical enlisted berthing area has 3 to 4 showers, 3 to 4 toilets, and a couple of urinals. These facilities are shared by 80 to 100 people. Now here's where it gets interesting. The newest Ford-class carriers, like the USS Gerald R. Ford, have completely gender-neutral bathrooms. There are no urinals at all. Every bathroom is designed with seated toilets only. The Navy made this decision to allow flexibility in berthing assignments. If the crew demographics shift and they need to convert a male berthing area to female or vice versa, they can do it quickly without renovating the bathrooms. Critics have pointed out some issues with this design. Bathroom experts note that seated toilets take up more space than wall-mounted urinals and are generally less sanitary when used by men. But the Navy insists the flexibility is worth it. The toilets themselves use a vacuum-powered septic system, similar to what you'd find on a commercial airliner. When you flush, a powerful vacuum sucks everything away through a network of pipes. It's efficient, but it's also prone to clogging. And when these systems clog, it's a nightmare. The USS Gerald R. Ford has experienced ongoing toilet problems since it was commissioned. On average, the carrier deals with 2 major clogging incidents per day. When a section clogs, it can take out multiple bathrooms at once. Repairs usually take 30 minutes to 2 hours, but during that time, sailors have to find alternative facilities, sometimes several decks away. The root cause? Sailors flushing unauthorized items like t-shirts, mop heads, and other debris. The pipes on these new carriers are undersized, a design flaw identified by the Government Accountability Office back in 2020. To fix serious clogs, the Navy has to perform what's called an acid flush, a chemical treatment that costs $400,000 every single time. Yes, you read that right. $400,000 to unclog a toilet system. During deployments, when toilet problems pile up, some sailors resort to desperate measures. Reports have surfaced of sailors using showers, industrial sinks, bottles, and even going over the side of the ship. For female sailors, the situation is worse. They often have to hold it for dangerously long periods, leading to health problems. Now let's talk about showers. Freshwater is a precious resource on a ship, even one with nuclear-powered desalination systems. Sailors are trained to take what's called a Navy shower. Here's how it works. Turn the water on and get wet. Turn the water off. Soap up your entire body. Turn the water back on and rinse off. That's it. A proper Navy shower uses about 11 liters or 3 gallons of water. A regular civilian shower uses 230 liters or 60 gallons. When you multiply that savings across 5,000 sailors every day, it adds up fast. The showers themselves are small, bare-bones stalls with metal partitions. There's no luxury here. You're in and out in a few minutes. Some sailors report that during high traffic times, there's a line for the showers, especially after shift changes when dozens of sailors are trying to clean up at the same time. Despite the challenges, staying clean is non-negotiable. The Navy enforces strict hygiene standards because in such close quarters, illness can spread rapidly. A single outbreak of flu or stomach virus can sideline dozens of sailors and compromise the ship's mission. Here's a question. Do you think you could handle taking a 3-gallon shower every day for 6 months? Let us know in the comments. Laundry and other essentials. We've covered eating, sleeping, and showering, but there's one more essential part of daily life: laundry. Aircraft carriers process a staggering 150,000 pounds of laundry every single week during deployment. The laundry facilities operate 16 to 20 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week. These aren't small home washers and dryers. We're talking about industrial-grade machines, 9 large heavy-duty washers, 2 small specialty washers, 11 industrial dryers, and 12 steam presses. The laundry rooms are located deep below the waterline, and they're brutal places to work. Temperatures inside regularly hit 120 to 135 degrees Fahrenheit. The Navy has thermometers stationed throughout the compartment, and when temperatures exceed 100 degrees, sailors are limited to working 1-hour shifts to prevent heat-related illnesses. Even with improved ventilation systems on newer carriers, it's an exhausting job. Sailors are required to stencil their names on their uniforms, so items can be returned to the correct person. Socks are often tied to belt loops, and other clothing is placed in mesh bags secured with large safety pins. These get collected from hampers in the berthing areas and taken down to the ship's laundry. Here's the problem. The system is notoriously slow, and items frequently get lost or mixed up. Many sailors prefer to hand wash their own clothes in their berthing area sinks rather than risk losing their uniforms. It's technically against regulations, but it happens all the time. The Navy has made improvements. Newer carriers use ozone-based cleaning systems that reduce the amount of soap and hot water needed. This makes the process more environmentally friendly, cuts costs, and reduces wear on uniforms. But even with these upgrades, laundry remains one of the least favorite chores on the ship. Beyond food, sleep, showers, and laundry, carriers also have a surprising number of amenities. There are medical and dental clinics staffed by Navy doctors and corpsmen. Barbershops offer haircuts to keep sailors in regulation. Ship stores sell snacks, toiletries, and essentials, all cashless, using debit cards linked to sailors' accounts. There are gyms, libraries, chaplain services, post offices, and even small banks. It's a self-contained city designed to operate independently for months at a time. Everything a sailor needs is on board. The challenge is adjusting to life in such a confined, regimented environment. The bigger picture, why it matters. So why does all of this matter? Because these sailors aren't on vacation. They're projecting American power across the globe. At any given moment, U.S. aircraft carriers are patrolling critical waterways, deterring adversaries, supporting allies, and responding to crises. The men and women living in those cramped berthing areas, eating in those crowded mess halls, and showering in those tiny stalls are the backbone of our national defense. The USS Gerald R. Ford alone represents a $13 billion investment in American security. It carries 75 of the most advanced fighter jets in the world. It can launch 270 sorties in a single day if needed. It's powered by 2 nuclear reactors that give it virtually unlimited range. And none of that matters without the 4,400 sailors who keep it running. The Navy understands that morale is mission critical. Happy, well-fed, well-rested sailors perform better. That's why the service has invested heavily in improving living conditions on newer carriers. Smaller berthing areas, better food, Wi-Fi access, upgraded laundry systems. These aren't luxuries, they're strategic necessities. Life aboard an aircraft carrier is tough. It's not for everyone. But for the sailors who serve, it's a source of pride. They're part of something bigger than themselves. They're defending freedom. They're standing watch so the rest of us can sleep safely at night. Final question. Could you live like this for 6 months straight, knowing you're serving your country? Comment your thoughts below. Conclusion. That's the reality of life on a modern aircraft carrier. Thousands of meals every day. Sleeping in steel coffins stacked 3 high. Sharing showers with 100 other sailors. It's not glamorous, but it's what keeps the world's most powerful Navy operational. If this video gave you a new appreciation for what our sailors go through, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into military life. Thanks for watching.